May the 4th be with you. Happy Star Wars Day. Hey guys, how are you? Star Wars The Last Jedi is due in cinemas at the back end of this year, so I thought it would be perfect to take a look back over the previous 7 Saga films in the series. We'll do these chronologically, so we're going to start with The Phantom Menace. I'm sorry. George Lucas's prequel trilogy is a very polarising thing in the Star Wars universe. Some people absolutely hate these films, some people think they're okay. I myself do prefer the original trilogy. It's what I grew up with, it's the toys I had when I was a kid, it's the memories I have associated with growing up with Star Wars. I'm a big Star Wars fan and have been since I was a kid. I used to play with all of the Star Wars toys, I had all the figures, got signed photographs of the actors that I've picked up from conventions. I absolutely love Star Wars. But when it was announced that the prequel trilogy was being made, I was quite excited. What we got was a very mixed bag of films, and films that don't entirely hold up to the original trilogy. But I'm going to try and put my personal feelings aside and be objective with these reviews. The Phantom Menace, I think, is a very difficult film to review because people have such strong feelings and emotions regarding this film. I myself sat down and watched it again last night, and I must admit it was very interesting to try and watch it and be completely impartial, not to fangirl it away or not to be too critical of it, but watch it impartially. But here we go. I'm going to try and be as impartial and as objective as I can with Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. So in terms of the plot of the movie, there isn't a massive amount to go on. The planet Naboo is being blocked by the Trade Federation in some sort of dispute. 2 Jedi, Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi, are sent to resolve the issue. The Viceroy on board the ship pretty much tries to have them killed with battle droids, and they escape. They go to the planet Naboo where there's a siege on the palace. They rescue the Queen and some of her staff, and then they try and escape to go and see the Senate on Coruscant. On the way, the ship breaks down and have to stop at Tatooine where they free a slave boy, Anakin Skywalker. Yes, there will be spoilers. The film is 18 years old and I'm pretty sure everyone has already seen it. That is pretty much the entire plot of the movie. There's a few other pieces put in, but that is in a nutshell the entire plot. The film is very talky with lots of exposition, and the tones and the actions and the acting itself is very cardboard. Quite how George Lucas managed to get performances of this nature out of the actors. Actors of some calibre, might I add, is unbelievable. They're very monotonous and they're talking to each other like this, and yes, I know what I'm doing. Yes, do you know what you're doing? We're here to rescue you, are you? And then Anakin, played by Jake Lloyd, is just an annoying kid. Are you an angel? He says at one point to Padme. Oh my god, the dialogue in this movie is absolutely terrible. Dialogue has never been George Lucas's strong point. Look at the original trilogy, there is actually some pretty bad dialogue in there, but it works. Here it doesn't. In terms of performance, everybody is very wooden, very stiff, and very monotonous in their tone. This I blame George Lucas for. Now, while he has actually done some good, A New Hope is an absolutely fantastic movie. The actors have got nothing to work off. They're working on pretty much blue screen or green screen sets that were only as high as the actors. Everything else was painted in digitally. There's very little real thing around them for them to work off, so they do become monotonous. Even on board scenes where there should be some tension, like when they're underwater and the giant fish is trying to attack her, they just don't seem to have any urgency and don't seem to care at all. Now this maybe some people would argue because they're Jedi and they're not particularly concerned, but it comes across very, very monotonous for us to watch. They're literally just sitting there like they're going for a drive in the country. The acting is pretty much dreadful. Jake Lloyd, who plays Anakin, is terrible, absolutely terrible. All we get from him, other than the angel comments, are yippies and oh, I'll try and push this button and I'll try and push this button. And when he actually gets into a cockpit of a fighter later on in the movie, it's just very coincidental that the ship was either for a very small person or they have child-sized helmets on board, because the helmet fits him perfectly. Surely it would have been an adult-sized helmet and not fit him, which would have actually been a bit funnier. Maybe that's just me overanalyzing. In terms of other performances, even people like Ewan McGregor and Liam Neeson, they don't seem to have any enthusiasm. It seems to be very, very, very dry, which I feel is a problem. Yes, we have to mention Jar Jar. Why? Just why? There's nothing I can add to anything anyone else has put on any number of videos you'll find here on YouTube about this character. Just why? Padme, played by Natalie Portman, is one of the brightest sparks in the movie. At least she does seem to get a little bit out of her performance. But again, she's very restricted with what she has. There's nothing there for them to work from in terms of the sets. It's very difficult for any actor to do anything of any caliber in a completely CGI green screen environment. So looking at something positive, the music of the movie is absolutely beautiful, and that is probably the best thing about the movie. From the opening crawl, when you hear the Star Wars theme hit, the music absolutely engrosses you and captivates you and pulls you into this universe. It's the best thing about the movie by far. Things that aren't so good, the visual effects. There's so much CGI in this movie, and it is looking old. It is looking really old now. Some of the shots are just embarrassing, and they're really dating badly. The original movie had a lot of model work, which made it pretty timeless. The model work on the original movies still holds up today in the majority of cases, but the CGI and the over-reliance of CGI characters, the battle droids, the large-scale assaults and the large-scale vistas, it just doesn't work. Even back in 1999 when the movie was released, it was good, but other movies like The Matrix were doing it so much better, and because they were trying to do something of so much scale, the CG just doesn't work. Ian McDiarmid, who played the Emperor in the original trilogy, plays Senator Palpatine here, and he's the one that's behind the scenes manipulating everything. So he's the one that gets Queen Amidala to go to the Senate to push for a vote of no confidence against Senator Valorum, and he's the one that's literally trying to gain more and more power. In terms of the villains of the movie, yes, we've got Palpatine, who's the big bad, but he's really in the darkness behind the scenes manipulating things. You've got the Viceroy, who's kind of bad, but he's not the main bad. There doesn't really appear to be a massive evil in the movie. You do have Darth Maul, which is one of the standout moments of the film, because he is just a badass with his double-end lightsaber, and he kicks ass. He absolutely does kick ass, and it's brilliant when you can see them fighting at the end, Qui-Gon Jinn and Darth Maul, and they're waiting for the lights to change so that they can get through the energy barriers, and he's pacing backwards and forwards ready to attack, and Qui-Gon's just there meditating, and Obi-Wan's there in the background like, I can't catch you up. But it does display the impatience of his character. And one of the things that the majority of people agree on is Darth Maul is probably one of the better characters in The Phantom Menace. Everybody seems to like him. And why? Because all he does is kick ass. He hasn't got to worry about any dialogue, with the exception of a couple of words in the movie. All he has to do is just kick some Jedi ass and just generally be an absolute badass, which he is. One of the big set pieces of the movie is the pod race, where Anakin is trying to win a part that they need to fix a spaceship, and volunteers to enter his pod on their behalf so that they can get the part and move on. The pod race itself is visually stunning. It does look pretty good. However, it's way too long, and you can tell that George Lucas loves drag race. I mean, just check out American Graffiti. But the pod race just lasts way too long. The attempts at some humour in there just fall flat on the face for the most part. And another gripe I have with the movie is, in the original trilogy we were told that the Force was this magical force that binds the galaxy together. Here we're introduced to midichlorians, tiny microscopic life forms that live inside you that actually give you Force powers. I mean, George Lucas, what the hell were you thinking? I'm glad that after this movie they never mentioned it again, because it kind of took the whole philosophy of the Force and narrowed it down to science. So Anakin is freed as a slave after winning the pod race and getting the part that they needed to fix the ship. They now go on to Coruscant, where they go to the Jedi Council, and Qui-Gon Jinn petitions to have Anakin trained as a Jedi. Yoda and Mace Windu played by Samuel L. Jackson, are on the council here, and it is more talking, more exposition, and more people just sitting around. This movie is full of people just sitting around and talking. Anyway, they refuse to train Anakin, and Qui-Gon Jinn is pretty peeved about it. So when Qui-Gon Jinn is murdered by Darth Maul, Obi-Wan catches up and finishes Darth Maul off once and for all by chopping him in half. He then takes Anakin under his wing as his Padawan learner to train him up in the ways of the Force, now that he's got the support of the Jedi Council behind him, because Qui-Gon believed that Anakin was the one, and is the one that can bring balance to the Force. This movie isn't the best. It's not a great introduction for anyone into the Star Wars saga, and had I not seen the previous trilogy first, I'd have been thinking, oh my god. The movie is barely watchable, and there were times when I was watching it that I just wanted to turn it off and was distracted by other things. I'm going to give Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, 2.5 out of a possible 5. Things do improve as we move through the series of movies, but this is not a great place to start. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I really do appreciate you sitting down and spending a little bit of time with me. Don't forget to hit that like button. Please subscribe, and I'll see you next month for Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Bye.